Jimmy Garoppolo. Just stop me if you've heard this before, but he is again injured. He suffered what a source told ESPN's Adam Schefter was a torn ulnar collateral ligament of the right thumb, as well as a fracture in the same thumb. So, I mean, like, so here's the thing. Here's what's kind of weird about this whole thing to me, right?
Sure.
They have not said like if he's out or not.
No.
And here's why that's kind of bewildering to me. He's right-handed.
Yeah.
And he plays quarterback.
Yep.
And he's got a torn ligament in his thumb and a fracture in his thumb.
Yeah.
But they're telling us that his status for the next week's game is unknown. Unless I have no idea what we're going to see here. But if something's wrong with this, it's going to be difficult for me to see how that's going to happen.
Or go southpaw.
I'm telling you. So if, say for instance, Trey Lance does have to play, he did take all of the first team reps in practice. Say he does have to step in and play. And if the injury is the way it sounds, it would seem as though there's a possibility that Jimmy G could be out not only for the Texans game, which they could probably win that game if I was the quarterback. But at the end of the season, they have the Rams. So, what is the panic? Now, think about this. Let's think about this from a record standpoint, right? The 49ers right now are 8-7, far from having anything locked up. Okay, they could finish as high as 10-7, obviously, but they are in a dogfight with the Philadelphia Eagles, to some degree, the Minnesota Vikings, maybe to a lesser degree, the Falcons and the Saints, who lost on Monday night. All of them for this final, for one or two of the final spots in the playoffs, because the Cardinals already locked up a spot. And so did the Rams. And then, of course, the Cowboys and the Packers have already clinched their division. Where are you at from a panic level spot with this, Paul, when it comes to the Niners trying to win potentially without Garoppolo for the final 2 weeks of the regular season?
Weirdly, I'm probably more encouraged. I'm like, oh, thank God he's out. Now we can see Trey Lance. But at the same token, and I'm going to explain why I feel that way, the other part is like, if what I'm saying is true and Trey Lance pops here, right, through the final 2 games, and then they go on this mini run in the playoffs, like, why didn't they do it before? What are they not seeing in practice? That is, again, because they're paying Jimmy G a ridiculous amount of money. They gave up all these picks for a guy who's holding a clipboard. Apparently, he's holding a clipboard better than anyone I've ever seen. So that's great to hear in practice. He's got a firm grip on that clipboard. Nobody else can beat him for that firm grip on the clipboard. But the fact of the matter is, if he shows any chutzpah, then the 49ers have been idiots this entire time. If he stinks, then Jesus, you made one of the worst trade-ups in history by moving up for a guy that has done nothing. And to think that they're in a playoff position and they basically lit a bunch of picks on fire that could have been immediate help somewhere on this team. God knows what they could have used if they just stayed where they were in the draft and just picked an impact player that could have helped, whether it was corner, all the injuries that have happened, wide receiver, offensive line, whatever. But the fact of the matter is they used all those picks for a guy that's barely contributed this year. So, that's kind of a concern. But I'm going to go on the positive side. I'm going to be optimistic. I think this is great because Jimmy Garoppolo, and we kind of used this comparison for someone earlier in the show, he is limited in what he can do. He can manage a game. And every once in a while, he'll give you a Captain Kirk Cousins, nice little game like against the Bengals. You're like, hey, there he is. That's Jimmy G. He can do something every once in a while. But again, the ceiling is limited. Trey Lance, I mean, we've seen some of the star power. It's been flashes, no consistency yet. But I'm highly encouraged that the ceiling for the 49ers suddenly increases dramatically having Trey Lance in the game. So I think this is almost addition by subtraction, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm going to say I really couldn't disagree with you more on like multiple points.
Spectacular.
First and foremost, I don't think that if Trey Lance plays now, then that is an automatic indication that he should have been playing earlier. I definitely think it is very understated or very people don't give enough credit to how sitting, waiting, absorbing, learning the NFL game, learning an offense can impact the guy. When you are, especially when you're talking about a rookie, the guy you see if he played at week 1 is not the same guy that you'll see if he sat and learned and then got an opportunity to truly play in week 17. It's not the same guy. So even if he does play in week 17 and balls out, that does not mean that you would have gotten that same performance from him earlier. Ideally, so the Bears and the 49ers in very similar situations. They had veteran quarterbacks whom they wanted to start from the beginning, and they did not want to play their young quarterback, their rookie quarterback, early. The Bears were forced into doing it because Andy Dalton got hurt in the first week, so they had to play Trey Lance, and the 49ers were able to kind of hold off a bit because Jimmy Garoppolo has stayed a little bit more upright than he has traditionally for a little bit longer, right? So they haven't had to break glass and grab Trey Lance out. I actually wish, as a person who has been a lifelong Bears fan, that the Bears had an opportunity to play decent football throughout the season with Andy Dalton and not having Justin Fields rushed out there on the field, take these lumps both figuratively and literally that he's taken through this season for a team that wasn't going anywhere anyway. So that, to me, I think there's a value in that. So I disagree with the fact that if he does play well, then that's an indication that he should have been playing all along. I also don't necessarily say that Jimmy's just a game manager. I've never truly had a problem with Jimmy Garoppolo's game beyond the fact that he struggles to stay healthy. Outside of that, I think he's a solid quarterback, decent talent. I don't think he's a spectacular guy, but I would not put him in a "we hope you don't lose us the game" category. I think he's more than that. And so putting all that together to answer this question, my panic level for the Niners is pretty high if Jimmy can't come back. Wow. Because this is, I'm not saying Trey Lance is incapable of producing in this situation, but this is the last situation I would want to have to throw my rookie quarterback in, who throughout the season thus far has thrown a total of 48 passes. Now, he hasn't been trash, but 52% completion rate is not something to go writing home about. So I will say this, he's mostly taking care of the football. He has only one pick in those 48 pass attempts. This is not the ideal situation for him to be jumping into. He's in the middle of a just all-out brawl for a final 2 playoff spots. And you got to lean on him heavily and or try to protect him during this time period. So my panic level is actually pretty high for this team. Wow. Especially if Jimmy G is not back for a week 18 battle on the road against the Rams that you gotta have, and Trey Lance is the quarterback. I'm a little scared. What about you, Lorenzo?
My panic level is also high, and here's the reason why. The 49ers, they may be in a situation where they play the Rams back-to-back weeks, and you got Trey Lance going against Aaron Donald. You got him going against Von Miller. You got him going against Jalen Ramsey. And he's a young rookie. His eyes are probably going to be the size of the state of California in that particular moment. I mean, we bashed Jimmy Garoppolo, and I know last week Paul called George Kittle, he's made out of glass. I'll say Jimmy Garoppolo's made out of plexiglass with all the injuries that he's had. But you know what? To Jimmy G's credit, he's been in the situation where he's taken a team to the playoffs and they made a deep run. I mean, this is the time of year where you do have to have that experience at QB, much to the chagrin of the 49er fans who go on heavy on 49ers, lighting up Jimmy G saying, oh, joy to the world, we got Trey Lance behind center. Problem is this, it's like, outside of the Houston Texans, and I do have to remind people, the Texans beat a pretty good Chargers team on Sunday. That disrupted their playoff pursuit. But you have the Rams the following week, and the Rams are rolling right now. And then you end up at the number 7 seed. You could still perhaps get either Dallas or Tampa Bay. I mean, it's like my panic level is starting to get higher than ever.
Yeah, man, I'm going to tell you, people can say what they want to say about Jimmy Garoppolo, but if I was a 49ers fan, I would be scared to death if he can't play these final two games. Wow. What about you, Ryan?
I'm going to poo-poo all of that, what you guys were saying about the yards after the catch merchant in Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he benefits from, all these nice Kyle Shanahan, offensive mastermind plays with Debo and George Kittle and the fullback. How many times did he throw the ball against the Packers in the championship game 2 years ago? 6, I think. 6 passes. That was very 10. Cute. Yeah, that was very cute. I mean, I got to give him credit. I mean, listen, okay, he had an injury, in the second quarter, and that's why he looked, I guess, bad in the second quarter on. But look, I mean, we're really overrating Jimmy Garoppolo here. I mean, there are times, forget about the injury in that game. There were times where he was throwing into double coverage, not knowing, what defense is, in front of him. Look, I just don't see what you guys are seeing in Jimmy Garoppolo. Look, I'm not saying he's terrible. That's never been my standpoint with Jimmy Garoppolo. But as far as, a top, you guys are talking like he's top 10, top 12. I think he's probably around. No, you guys are talking like that. I mean, this guy.
I wouldn't say that. I never say that. He's top 30. He's not a game manager. Please don't.
You were saying we were smoking last week. You guys were saying we were smoking last week. I think you're smoking this week, Brian.
What'd you say, Paul?
Yeah, Brian. So, but you've been dancing around it. Let's put some money where your mouth is here. So you said, he's not great, but he's not a game manager. Then what's that middle category, Brian? What is it?
He's a game manager. Point blank.
What he is a solid professional starting quarterback. That's what he is. He's a solid NFL starting quarterback. His biggest problem is his inability to stay healthy. That's his biggest
double coverage. And
I mean, if you look at the dude's career, at the dude's career. He's played double digit. Now, some of these were obviously behind Tom Brady, but if you go from